Starting now.
And welcome to our final installment of Illuminating the Legacy of Slavery in Rhode Island. Thank you again to all of our artists and funders that made this possible. If you'd like to see more of this work, please donate to the Woman Project. This has been a real journey and a real journey for all of us to learn more about the legacy of slavery in Rhode Island. We hope that you have learned some more too, and we have one final story to tell you related to the legacy of slavery in Rhode Island. So this is a story of resistance from Christy Clark Pujara's book, Dark Work, The Business of Slavery in Rhode Island. Enslaved people challenged the institution of slavery through flight, violence, and destruction of property. They refused to be the dependents, and their actions defied the racial ideology of their masters. Enslaved Rhode Islanders used the extensive waterways of the colony to evade their masters. It was such a concern that in 1714, the General Assembly forbade slaves from boarding ferries alone, even under the direction of their masters, without a certificate of ownership carried by their masters or mistress or some white person in authority. Enslaved Rhode Islanders stowed away on ships, which were plentiful in the port cities of Newport, Providence, and Bristol. To limit this practice, the Assembly permitted slave owners to search ships at will. Furthermore, they made ship captains responsible for ensuring that no slaves were hidden on their vessels. Passed in 1757, this act allowed slaveholders to search private vessels if they suspected that human property was stowed aboard it. They were also entitled to double damages if a privateer or captain was found guilty of stealing a slave. These laws made all whites responsible for enforcing race-based slave law, which made all whites part of the enslaver class. The Rhode Island General Assembly was determined to protect the slave property of its white residents. But despite the Assembly's efforts, slaves still fled their masters. Between 1732 and 1775, Rhode Island slaveholders placed 100 runaway slave advertisements in local and regional papers. Rhode Island slaves also resisted the institution of slavery with violence, arson in particular. 4 incidents of slave arson appeared in local newspapers between 1747 and 1773. Fortune, an abandoned Negro, reportedly set fire to the Long Wharf, causing 80,000 pounds in damage. Fortune was summarily executed. Thomas Randall, a black servant boy, tired of tending animals, confessed to setting the barn on fire. And 2 disgruntled male servants set their respective masters' homes on fire. Interactions between the enslaved class and free people was also a cause for concern to colonial officials. A 1751 act restricted the entertaining of Indian, Negro, or mulatto servants or slaves. Clearly, enslaved people were socializing with poor people of all races, black, white, and Indian, and this law sought to end that. Enslaved people in Rhode Island also fought directly against the institution of slavery through the courts. On April 25, 1772, Mary Walmsley sued Jeffrey Watson for falsely imprisoning and selling her daughter Susanna as a slave. Walmsley, a former slave, claimed that her daughter was free and not subject to the arbitrary will and control of any of his master's subjects. Watson, a gentleman farmer, argued that he was acting as commissioner of an estate that was in debt, which listed 11-year-old Susanna as property. Court testimony from neighbors and debtor's family revealed that Mary had been promised her freedom by her master before he died and before Susanna was born. And so the mother and daughter were judged to be free. If Mary Walmsley had not been brave enough to take a white man to court, her daughter would have remained in bondage. In her play, Door of No Return, Nehesayu Dagan tells another story of Mary Walmsley's resistance against enslavement. It is said that she boiled her master's white child alive. Degan's play imagines Walmsley telling the story to her daughter, Susanna. Ephraim Gardner gives me, Mary Walmsley, away to his son, James Gardner, for my 14th birthday, and time passes. 14 years passes. I, Mary Walmsley, live on James Gardner's farm for 14 years and have 3 daughters. You, Susanna, are one of those daughters. Mother, did you fall in love? Mother, did you get married? Susanna, I must tell you a story. I'm listening, Mother. I'm in the kitchen of James Gardner's farm. This kitchen I have been in for 14 years, and I think of the 14 years before that on Ephraim Gardner's farm, and my mother, Black Mary, before that, and her mother and her father before that. I am boiling water to scrub the dishes clean. I am boiling water to scrub the dishes clean, wondering when I'll be clean enough to walk out the door of James Gardner's farm and take my children with me. I am boiling the water to scrub the pots. It's getting hotter and hotter, and in walks James Gardner's 2-year-old son. He's just a toddler, sucking his thumb, and freer than me, than you, Susanna, and my 2 other daughters. Freer than your great-grandmother and your great-grandfather, despite the deal sealed by that old damn man, Henry Gardner. And that thought struck me like a lightning bolt, like a sweet breeze through the South County trees. This little white boy, freer than me, wasn't clean enough to be God's son. He had the sins of his father and his grandfather upon him. So in the pot he went, with water getting hotter and hotter. Into the pot he went. He let out a scream that would have scalded even the devil's heart, a scream that went straight to my mother's heart. My heart suddenly beating free, and I walked straight out that kitchen door, straight off James Gardner's South County farm, just like my mother before me. Where was I, Mother? Susanna, you were in a different town. James Gardner had given you away to another South Kingstown farmer. That boy died, didn't he, Mother? When you baptized him in scalding water? Yes, Susanna, he died. May he rest in peace. May James Gardner's son rest in peace. Mother, you killed so that we could be free? James Gardner didn't come after me, didn't press charges, didn't even have the police arrest me until 8 years later, on the brink of bankruptcy, he sent out the bounty hunters for you and for me and claimed we were his property. What happened, Mother? What happened? I went to court, and with the aid of my allies, we won. You won, Mother? You won? Yes, Cristina. The Rhode Island governor himself stepped in and issued a precept. May your great-grandmother and great-grandfather rest in peace. May Patience and Thomas Walmsley rest in peace. May James Gardner's son rest in peace. Mother, you killed so that I could be free? Susanna, I was not alone. Many an enslaved woman bartered life for freedom. The only difference is, I didn't kill my own daughter. Mother, thank you. Thank you for setting us free. Good, my sweet Susanna. Lay yourself down, say your prayers and sleep. It is night. Thank you. This has been Illuminating the Legacy of Slavery in Rhode Island by the Woman Project. Good night.